Hello, my friends. Welcome to Storytime at the Library. I'm so glad to see you. Let's see what we're going to read this time. Ricky, the Rock That Couldn't Roll by Mr. J. Over the lake and out past the bay was a green grassy hill where rocks came to play. They would race to the top to take in the view, then roll their way down the way rocks love to do. There were Kip, Pip, Penchester, and Marvin the Boulder. Ignatius played too, though he was much older. And a group called the Pebbles never ever sat still, zigzagging their way up and over the hill. Kai was a meteorite and not from this planet. Maya was lava, but taken for granite. Stu was the smart one, Parker the clown, and grumpy old Ebert rolled round with a frown. Gabby was sassy, Lisa had flair, Emma was giggly, and Hud had black hair. Parker says, "Hey, how do you make a tissue dance?" "You put a little boogie in it." "Seriously?" But the one trait that seemed to be shared by them all was that every rock there was shaped like a ball. And because they were round, they could easily roll through the grass, past the lake, up and over the knoll. Except for poor Ricky, who quietly sat. You see, Rick couldn't roll because one side was flat. "What part of this is supposed to be fun?" His friends didn't get it. "Come roll," they would chant. So Ricky tried, but replied, "I'm sorry, I can't." But the rocks were determined. They were sure they could solve Ricky's flat-sided problem and help him revolve. So Marvin the Boulder, with his impressive physique, carried Rick all the way to the hill's grassy peak. Then he pushed him down, yelling, "Keep rolling, kid!" But Rick didn't roll. He just kind of slid. This feels like a bad idea. Well, the rocks weren't done, not by a mile. Surely this next try would get Rick to smile. They stuck rubber balls all over Rick with big gobs of glue to get them to stick. They were proud of themselves. "This will work," they announced. But Ricky still couldn't roll. Now he just sort of bounced. Boing, boing, boing. No good, no good, no good. Well, they pushed and they pulled, trying every which way to get Rick to roll. But by the end of the day, nothing had worked, just like Rick expected. And he ended up feeling depressed and dejected. "It's no use," Ricky sighed. "There just isn't a way. So I'll sit off to the side and watch you all play." But his friends wouldn't quit. "We're here for you, brother, and we'll get you to roll one way or another." So they pondered and thought, each straining his brain, till they looked up and saw it was starting to rain. And that's when it hit the smart stone named Stu. "Eureka!" he shouted. "I know just what to do." He explained to them how they would get Rick to tumble. "My plan is pure genius." Stu wasn't too humble. So they carried our hero down the road about a mile, to the lake, where they gathered up mud they could pile. On the flat side of Rick, creating a mound, they shaped, smooth, and sculpted until it was round. Then after the rain, with the sun in the sky, they left him to bake till the mud was all dry. They gathered up vines, one colorful feather, and they wrapped all around Rick to keep it together. Does anyone have a towel? Look, they're all muddy, aren't they? When the last knot was tied and the work was all done, the only step left was for Rick to have fun. They stood back and watched, feeling nervous and tense, as Rick breathed in deep with increasing suspense. He moved slowly at first, testing out his new mold, and then, for the first time, Ricky the Rock rolled. Zoom, 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 zoom. So Bria the ladybug, who'd been there from the start, felt a surge of pure joy swell up in her heart. She thought, as she watched her friends play on the hill, that there's always a way if there's also a will. And she said to herself as Ricky rolled down the slope, when you're surrounded by love, you always have hope. What did you think? Did you like that story? I know I did. I'm so glad you came to listen, and I will see you next time. Bye. So in your activity bag today, this week, you have a rock, and your rock may be different than my rock, and then some paints and a paintbrush. And so the object of this activity is to paint a rock, and then if you want to, you can go hide it in your community. So if you go for a walk, you could leave it by a tree, or you could leave it by just in the grass. And then if everybody does that, when you keep walking, you might find somebody else's rock. So we're going to paint a picture. So we need to open up our paints, and we might need Mom and Dad's help for this. So we're going to pop open our lids. Maybe. They're a little tricky. It's easier to hold it like this than to pop it open like that. So please have Mom and Dad help you with this part, because we don't want to spill the paint. All right. So here we have our paints. Now, what do I want to paint on my rock? I'm going to look at it and think, let me think. I think I might paint a butterfly. So let's start with purple. And I'm going to draw a wing. And then maybe butterflies have a bigger wing, right? Oh, that looks like a 3. But we're not done yet, so we're going to come around this way. Then around this way. Then when I'm done with that color, I'm going to wipe it off on my paper towel. And then maybe I'm going to do some green dots. So maybe one here, and 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 one here. Okay? Wipe off my brush. And then maybe I'll do some orange stripes. Like that. Wipe off my brush. And then let's give this guy, this butterfly, a body. So we're going to go right up the middle. There we go. And of course he needs a little head. Gotta put a head on our butterfly. There we go. And then maybe some antennas. Whoop. Whoop. There we go, like that. There. And let's see, what else do we want to put on here? Maybe, you know what? Maybe I'm just going to put a few little dots all the way around him. So I'm just going to speckle it. Speckle, speckle. Because it's my rock and I can do what I want. Doesn't have to make sense. It just has to make you happy. And we're trying to make others happy too. If we hide it in our community, it'll make everybody happy to find rocks that are painted in a pretty way. Everybody will wonder, who made this rock? I don't know. And I like that green. I'm going to put some green speckles out here too. What do you think? It's nice and bright and happy. I like happy things. Just remember, every time you get a new color, before you do that, you want to wipe it off. I'm going to maybe connect these guys. Maybe we'll just make them bigger. I like that idea better. There. What do you think about that? That's a happy little butterfly. So you have fun painting your own rock and making the community a brighter place.